Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with Westworld, Season 2, Episode 2, Review. Alright, so I actually really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was maybe just as good as the premiere last week. To me, I think it was missing a couple things, right? We didn't really see anything of Maeve. I mean, we saw one scene with her, but we never saw that continued storyline with her, and we never saw Bernard in this episode. We saw Arnold, but we never saw Bernard. So I mean, we technically saw Jeffrey Wright, but not Bernard in the current time. What's going on. So yeah, so the few things we're missing here. They kind of decided to focus more on Dolores in this episode. I thought it was pretty much just a Dolores focused episode. Outside of William, right, doing his thing with Lawrence there. And that was a very short part of the episode. So yeah, I just thought overall, I would say this episode is about Dolores finally being able to remember everything and how this impacts her journey now, right? And with doing this, they also give us background on a lot of earlier things that happened with the park, right? How Delores invested in it, right? Logan and his dad, and how William convinced his dad, and all this stuff, right? So just really great, and also the introduction of the technology too that we see in this episode. So yeah, I really thought it was a good episode in that fact, but it was, for sure missing things, and I'm sure that a lot of people want to see Bernard and Maeve, those storylines kind of play out. So maybe they'll shift and not really focus on Dolores much next episode, and then kind of go more with Bernard and Maeve and those type of things. Maybe that's what they're doing, because in the premiere they kind of set it up where they gave pretty much every kind of storyline that they gave Bernard, Maeve, Dolores, and then William. I mean, they kind of gave them all equal screen time, right, for each story, for each character. But in this one, they decided to kind of split it up, entirely. So, yeah. So, and I'm sure everything will connect. I mean, this show does that so well, right? Everything will come back and connect, and there'll be some reason, why we didn't see these characters right now, because of, time jumps and all that stuff, I presume. But anyways, so those are just kind of my initial thoughts of this one. Obviously, we'll go over a little bit of a recap here, and then towards the end, I'll give my rating, favorite character, and some more overall thoughts of the episode. I'm really enjoying this season. I'm really, really liking just the whole, story behind it about the robots or the hosts fighting back. I'm really, really enjoying it. And already, I think this season may actually be better than Season 1, even though I really love Season 1. I'm not sure exactly when they're going to show us the Shogun world or the Samurai world, right, that they have talked about. So I'm not sure when we're going to be seeing that. But obviously, I think that might be happening later in the season. We'll have to see how that all comes into play. But it should be very interesting. So, anyways, and I'd really like to thank you guys for the support on the review for the premiere last week. Really got some good stuff on there, some comments, some likes, and views. So really appreciate that, and please keep coming back every week for reviews of Westworld. I plan to do these weekly, unless my schedule gets really heavy here and gets really busy in the coming weeks. Then I may only do this for the finale or something like that. Maybe come back at the end, but for now I plan on doing it week to week. So please keep coming back every week for reviews if you watch the show, obviously. So this one starts off. We see Arnold showing Dolores the real world, and she's in this hotel room. And now, I don't know, to some people, maybe this wasn't a very meaningful scene. I kind of thought it was a throwaway scene until about the end of the scene. So I really thought this whole part was interesting, but I didn't really get much out of it until the end. So she says, "I don't know if I could ever get used to this," right? And then she says to Arnold when she's in the hotel room, what does she say again? "Have you ever seen anything so full of splendor?" she says, and of course that comes back later in the episode. So at this point, I mean, it's not a big deal. But then we see that his liking for Dolores, right, it is, paramount to all the other, hosts, right, since he personally made her, that he, actually feels for her and what treats her like a human, right? But then in the moment where they're at his house or whatever, and she starts repeating, "Have you ever seen something more, more splendor," or something like that, he kind of finally snaps out of it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, she's a robot, she's not a human," even though maybe he wants her to be, because he has created her, right? So he kind of has that attachment, and I think that was very, significantly shown in this scene. That connection that they have. So then they walk the streets, And this was like a really creepy thing to see now, right? Because like imagine Dolores now just walking the streets in the world, would be crazy. I mean, she'd, go on probably a massacre and kill a lot of people, and do whatever. So it's really creepy to think of, and I think they really captured that well in seeing her just like walking down the streets with all these people around, because at that time she obviously wasn't conscious. She didn't know what, was going on. So then she says, "Will you bring me back? I'd like to see this again," at the very end of the scene. And I think this is some foreshadowing here. Maybe not, but I think it is. I think this line, "I'd like to see it again, would you bring me back," I think it's foreshadowing, because I think she's eventually going to get out of the park, and we're going to see, obviously the effects of that. I think, I don't know, maybe she does, maybe she doesn't, but I just really think that's a meaningful line, and I don't know why they would put that in there at the very end of the scene, if it wasn't some type of foreshadowing or some type of teaser, for coming, or for going forward. So, really great scene there at the beginning. Then we get the intro. I love the intro, by the way. I think I said that in last review. I really like it, but it's really long. I find myself kind of skipping through it sometimes just because I want to see the next scene, right? And I don't really want to wait, 2 minutes for the intro. But anyways, I do like it. So then we see Dolores and Teddy and their other partners. So I think they have like there's three main ones, right? So there's Dolores, Teddy, and the other woman there, and I don't remember her name off the top of my head, so I'm just referring to her as like the other blonde woman. So she comes in it with them, but I think there's like some others in the background that don't like come out and talk. So they do have like a little bit of a kind of a group now, right? So they break into this control building of the park. They break into this one sector, right, where these guys are standing there, and she tells Teddy, and this line was very good as well. I used to see the beauty in this world, but now I see the truth. So this is relating back to that first scene, right? Because she remembers her looking out on the world and thinking, how beautiful it was. Have you ever seen something, so splendor, anything so full of splendor, right? So she really loved it at first, but now she sees the truth and just sees the evil, right? And that humans are controlling her and everything like that. And of course, this is because she's starting to remember things now, right? She remembers that she used to see the beauty, and now she's able to see the truth. So I really felt like that was a pivotal line there as well. And she tells Teddy that. And then she remembers back to the night of this party. So these like flashback scenes with Logan and William and Logan's dad presumably are her remembering it, right? So I think we're kind of in her perspective here, remembering it, even though I think in this scene that I'm going to talk about now, she isn't, I don't think she actually appears in it, but she's kind of remembering this, as it is. So very interesting. So at this point, she kind of remembers back to the night of this party that that someone is hosting here. So, at the party, so we see a man and a woman meet with Logan Delores from season 1, and I honestly wasn't sure if we'd ever see Logan again in the show, but yeah, lo and behold, he's back, so that was kind of cool, and of course, the younger William is back as well. We kind of left off in the finale, of course, now that we know the man in black is William, right? The older William, so I didn't think we'd see him either, but we saw both of them now in this episode. So yeah, they meet with Logan to propose their business, which is the park, right? The park is their business proposal that they want him to invest in. So they set up this demonstration with all these robots or these hosts, right? And ask him to point out which one is the robot, right? So they do this thing, and he's totally into it. He's looking around and looking at all these people, and he can't really figure out which one is actually a robot. And then he kind of looks looks the other way. He kind of turns around and he sees that the woman who initially met him is the robot, right? She is one of these the hosts or the robot, and he had no idea, right? But we know that because she is the blonde woman who's helping Dolores and Teddy now. So we know at that point that she is a host, but he doesn't. So he's dumbfounded. I mean, he's really surprised at this. He's already impressed, and then suddenly everybody in the room freezes, and he figures out that all of them are robots. None of them are actually humans like he thought. And I mean, he's even going around to each of them, and like they'll look at him, funny, and he'll be like, "Oh, sorry, like I offended you," right? Because he thinks they're human, but it turns out they're all robots. I mean, even the guy who came to him in the first place with the woman is a robot. Like, it was just a really, really interesting scene, and I think it has a lot of significance with what I'm talking about in episode 1 review, and also just what I believe with this show. I mean, I think this season especially tackles the question of, if they look the same as us, right, they can function the same as us. The only difference really is what's up here, that we have a natural brain and they kind of have an invented brain. I mean, we invented them. Then what's the difference between us, right? If we look the same, we function the same, what's the difference, right? And I felt like this scene just really, really captured that whole idea. I mean, it's obviously just kind of showing us that Logan was fascinated with the idea. But I think it's also the deeper meaning is really showing us that. And Logan kind of realizes this as well. And he says, like, we're not here yet, right? We're not here with this technology. And he's, like, really, really surprised at this. He can't believe it. So yeah, really, really crazy scene there. And like I said, I think it holds a lot of significance, even though it may not have seemed like it, but if you really think deeper about it, I really think that means a lot. And of course, we hear a line from Logan later in the episode that kind of shows that he really, that this really affected him. So yeah, really great stuff there. So then we go back to current times now. Dolores is kind of done with that little flashback memory. So she shows Teddy the room full of hosts, right? So at the end of last episode, she said that she wanted to show Teddy something. So this is what she wanted to show him, right? So essentially, she wants to show him, basically, I mean, what's actually going on, right? She wants to show him that he's being controlled and that he's a robot, right? He's not, just like, any other human. So she basically wants him, to show him what she knows, right? What she knows to be true now. And so she shows him the room full of hosts and his past death pictures on the tablet there to help him realize what's going on, right? And he's like really angry right away. I mean, as a result, he's just really, really angry, right? And he can't believe this. He's really confused, actually, I think, at this point. What's going on? What is this? How have I not known about this before? And he says, why can I not remember? And then Dolores says, that's how they wanted it to be, right? And then he, chokes. I think he chokes the guy out, and he's like, why? Why did you want it that way? So he's obviously very angry. I'm not sure if it actually breaks through to him completely, where he's not, close to consciousness like Dolores is, I don't think. Maybe he is, but I don't think so. But I think this is obviously helping him in that kind of journey to solve the maze, per se, right? Or the maze of consciousness. But no, I don't think this does it. But I think this also, kind of helps him and gives him more driving force to help Dolores in her fight, right? So then they learn from the one of the men there that they dip him in that wax, the hot wax, and kind of threaten him. So he says that there'll be 800 people coming for them, right? And the one guy even says, I think the one guest from the gala is like running away or something, and they find him in the sector there. And he says, you don't know what you're up against, right? I mean, there'll be hundreds and hundreds of people coming for you. You're not going to win. And I mean, he's kind of right. I mean, if there's 7 billion, or at least right now, there's 7 billion humans, and there's like hundreds, maybe hundreds of hosts, right, in Westworld, I don't really think they stand a chance. But they are robots, so, who knows, right? But yeah, so for sure, I think that's very true. And then Teddy says, we're going to need allies, right? If there's 800 people coming for us just within the park, we're going to need some help here. And that's kind of where they go the rest of the episode there. So then we get William's whole thing. So I'm just going to talk about his whole storyline here together instead of kind of spreading it out like it was in the episode. So essentially he finds Lawrence, right? And we saw that big focus with him in season 1 about him and Lawrence, basically, traveling and trying to solve this maze, right? So he comes back to Lawrence again this season, and he rescues him, talks about the revolution that is going on with the hosts fighting back. So, and I really think that we can see here that he loves this new narrative. Like, he loves that the stakes are actually real this time, and that he can actually be killed, right? He's just in love. I mean, you really just see that he's like so happy, he's really enjoying this. When a lot of other people would be like scared for their lives, he just like loves it and wants to, even, do more things, so that he's, in danger and stuff like that. He just loves the feeling, right? And he wants to work together with Lawrence, right? In this quest, he thinks he's going to, I think he said he's going to go somewhere to find something, and then from there, I don't know. I think he just kind of wants to like beat the whole storyline, right, and beat the game, and then kind of destroy it, right? And he says, then I'm gonna burn this whole fucking thing to the ground. So really crazy thing there. So he basically wants to just demolish Westworld. I assume. I assume that's what he means. So he says, yeah, I want to beat the story. I want to beat the game, right? First, and then I'm gonna just destroy the whole park after I beat it. So really crazy stuff. And he's like the major shareholder, right? So I mean, it doesn't really make that much sense to do that. But I think it's a little too late, right, to be worried about profits and stuff like that, because pretty much all the hosts have gone berserk and now are against humans, which is obviously a big problem, and it's going to take a long time to fix, obviously, and they've already lost a lot of people. So I don't see people saying, oh well, let's go on a vacation to Westworld where hundreds of people died last year. You know what I mean? So yeah, kind of the least of his worries. So then the two head to Pariah, right? Lawrence and him, because Pariah is kind of like on their way to where they're trying to go, and they get blindsided by a bunch of men guarding the village, right? So this was actually a really intense scene, a little bit suspense here, right? And obviously William not expecting it, and now that we know the stakes are real, right, and that he can actually die. I mean, season 1 it was like, oh, okay, he can just shoot them, whatever, it's over. But in this, I mean, it's the stakes are real. Like, he could actually die in this scene. So the suspense is even, more. It's escalated, right? And so these men are led by Gus Fring. El Lazo. So Giancarlo Esposito was playing El Lazo in this scene. I really, I don't know. I had to, like, pause it. I was just so excited. Of course, Breaking Bad, my favorite show on television ever. And Giancarlo Esposito is definitely one of my favorite kind of TV actors for his portrayal of Gus Fring. So that was really awesome that he was in this episode, and he did a fantastic job in this scene as well. So anyways, El Lazo is the leader. So William says that he can help with with El Lazo's desires of a true ending. So what does that exactly mean? I presume that it just means that they defeat all the humans and they kind of are free, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm not sure if El Lazo has that state of consciousness. Actually, I know that he doesn't have that state of consciousness like Dolores. So would he actually think that? I don't know. But obviously, he has some sort of desire for a final battle, something like that, right? So El Lazo declines his offer, though, right? He says, no, that's not going to happen. So then William takes it into his own hands, so he puts a gun to his head and threatens El Lazo, right? So that he can, because he doesn't really care about El Lazo, he just wants his men, right? He wants an army, so that he can take on the Confederalos, I think is what they're kind of building up to. And so he threatens them, right? And then all of a sudden El Lazo kind of spins here, and he says, this game was meant for you, William, but you must play it alone. And then suddenly we see all the men around them kill themselves and drop to the ground. So, damn, I mean, that's just crazy, right? So we know that Ford actually made this storyline now specifically for William, if one of the hosts is actually going to say his name and say that it's built for him. And then William says, fuck you, Robert, right? He's pissed off, that Robert, outsmarted him again, right? So that was just a really kind of intense scene, and that was at the very end of the episode there. So that was good, right? That was awesome. So I'll have to see where William goes from there. Obviously, him and Lawrence are kind of on this journey now. So I have to see who they encounter next, and what else William does. So yeah, really, really great stuff there. So then we see Dolores and her team are on horseback. They come to this burning wagon, right? And they get off their horses, and suddenly they cross paths with Maeve, trying to find her daughter along with Hector. So yeah. Again, like I said at the beginning, this is the only scene where we see Maeve, and this lasts for about 2 minutes. But I thought this was a good confrontation between Maeve and Dolores. So they get in a little bit of a disagreement, right? Dolores doesn't really let Maeve pass here. She wants her to join the fight against the humans, right? But Maeve doesn't really want a part of it, or at least just yet. Right, I think she does agree because, I mean, she's already killed, many humans, already. Ordering Hector and the girl with the tattoo, right? But for right now, she's focused on finding her daughter, so she doesn't really want to be fighting. So she really doesn't want a part of it, but Dolores kind of doesn't understand this, and she doesn't let them pass. then it gets a little bit tense here, and then finally, after a little bit, Dolores does let them pass, and she kind of, stops us, the stubbornness, and just kind of lets them go. I really would have liked to see a little bit of a conflict here. Obviously, it's a little bit too early, for something like that to happen in the season. But honestly, the Maeve versus Dolores, they're both kind of evil, and they both want to get back at the humans, but maybe they have different ways of doing that. Right, so I really like to see that conflict go even further than just this scene. I really thought it was good. So then Dolores continues onto the barn, and then Maeve goes off, and we never see her again in the episode. So then she goes on, and the Confederalos are having this little dinner in this barn. It was kind of a weird kind of thing, but anyways, so Dolores asks them to join the fight. So she wants them on her side, of course, because Teddy already said earlier that they need allies, they need numbers, right? So the leader refuses her, though, right? Even after she tells them what their storyline is. So she's kind of using her knowledge now to basically, twist the host's minds into doing, what she wants, right? And she, tells them exactly what they're going to do next, right? And even someone, and only someone who knew what was going on would know that, right? But it still doesn't work. It really doesn't get to him like some other hosts. He's still being, really, just offensive, right? And he's saying no, and then he kind of, puts his hands on Dolores' shoulder and stuff, so, really kind of it's not working, in fewer words, it's not working, what she does. So then Dolores orders Teddy and the other girl to kill them all, and then they do, right? And they all, they shoot them all down in the barn there, and that's really crazy, right? That was pretty an awesome scene there, kind of gunning them all down there at once, and Teddy, bringing out the two guns and doing the spinning thing on the revolver there, so that was awesome. And then Dolores gets the man to bring him back online. So she's traveling now with one of the guys from the sector that they met before, right? Who's controlling the host. And the guy, she brings him back online, right? And then Dolores talks to him in that way, and convinces him, because how the hell would he just suddenly be alive after he just died, right? So this kind of convinces him, and this is just crazy smart. I mean, this is next level intelligence right here, for Dolores to be able to come up with this type of plan, right, and bringing him back online and doing this. So yeah, really, really crazy stuff there. And that's just about, no, there's a little bit more of Dolores, but that's kind of the main part of the episode here for Dolores, in this one. So yeah, really, really smart scene there. And again, we're really just showing, her intelligence right now with her consciousness. So then she remembers back again. So this is another flashback of hers. So we see a celebration party organized by William, and presumably, this is kind of like a celebration for them investing in Westworld, or at least the park, right? Delos investing. And so then Dolores goes down to the water. So yeah, there's some stuff in it, but I think the most important part is this. So Dolores goes down to the water to see the human world again, right? So she sees, I think kind of she's down by the shore, right? Or the little water there, and then she kind of looks out and sees the city, right? And so and she sees this again, and she finds Logan, though, right? And he's intoxicated. I'm not sure, drunk or high. He has marks on his arm, so I'm not sure if that's what was going on there. But anyways, what he says is really important, I think. So he says, "Do you want to know what they are really celebrating up there? That is the sound of fools fiddling when the whole fucking species starts to burn. And the funniest part is that they lit the match. So here's to you, assholes." So really, this is an awesome little scene here with Logan. He could already see it coming back then when they first invested in the company. And I'm not sure, maybe he's only saying this because he's intoxicated or whatever. But I still think it's really meaningful. It's crazy to see now that now we're here in season 2 and they actually are fighting back. And now to see that he already kind of knew that. He already saw that coming when they first invested, years ago. So really, really crazy stuff, right? And, that sounds, so basically he says the human species is starting to burn, right? Because they have made these robots and because they will take over eventually. And the funniest part is that they lit the match. So they basically are their own demise, right? That they made these robots so smart. And then here's to you, assholes, means he's saying to the robots, here's to you, right? Here's to you that now the world is going to be yours. So really, really crazy line there with Logan. So that was just really, really crazy stuff there. And then we see Dolores remember again. So the flashback comes right after this. And she remembers older William. So he's not quite the one that we know with the Men in Black, but he's not quite the one in season 1. He's kind of in between here. So it's older William talking to her after he visited the park with Logan. So it's like a few years after that, right? But of course now in the story, we're like years and years after that. So he tells her that she was a mere reflection of himself and that she was only a thing. Right? She was nothing more than that. And he can't believe how, that she got to him, how he actually thought that she was real, right? And then he says that he can't wait to use her and all of her kind to show people, their true selves and who they really are. And he said, do you know who wants to see their own reflection? Everyone. Right? And so he's really taking advantage of this, and he now sees exactly how he can, sell the park to people. And again, I mean, Dolores remembering this is crazy, right? That just gives her more and more, reason to strike back against the humans, especially with William saying these type of things. So then William says, I think there's an answer here to a question no one has ever dreamed of asking. So he takes Dolores to this kind of peak there, right? And then he asks her, have you ever seen anything so full of splendor? And again, like I said at the very beginning of the episode, this is what Dolores says to Arnold. So really crazy stuff that they connect this all back, right? And then we see this broken down, I think it was like cranes. I'm not exactly sure what we saw here, but it looked like broken down kind of cranes in this huge valley, right? And there's a little bit of water there. And my question is this the place that Bernard and Strand, the head of the kind of army unit that came in, stumbled upon last episode? Is this the lake that they saw last episode? So I wonder if that is the same place. Maybe, maybe that's obvious that it is. I'm not sure. But for right now, that's what I kind of thought of when I saw that. So yeah, really, really crazy stuff there. But have you ever seen anything so full of splendor? He asks her. Really crazy. And I don't exactly understand, so far, how that all connects, how he would know that, that she would say something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but obviously it was just really cool to hear that come back again. And obviously I think that question is going to mean more than maybe what we think of it now, right? So crazy stuff there. And then we see Dolores at the very, very end of the episode here, building up her forces, right? She now is the Confederalos riding with her. She convinces that leader back a little bit earlier in the episode. And she tells Teddy that they will reach the glory they are seeking. They are going to win. And she says, an old friend was foolish enough to show me long ago. And it's not a place, right? The glory is not a place. It's a weapon. And I'm going to use it to destroy them. So really, really crazy stuff here to destroy them. I mean, crazy stuff. So we already know Dolores is against the humans. And now she presumably has this weapon. And I think it's the place that William showed her, right? Because that scene, we see her remember that just before she says this stuff. So, is that, possibly the weapon that she's going to use? Who knows? And, hopefully we'll see her find it next episode. So really awesome stuff there. All right, so in terms of a rating for this episode, I'm going to give it a 4.6 out of 5. I just really couldn't give it more than last episode because I just really, really liked last episode, of course. We're just introducing a lot of new things, right, in the premiere there. And this one, no Maeve, no Bernard, right? So I thought those were negatives. I personally would have liked to see those two in the episode. But, granted, I mean, you did see Maeve, don't get me wrong, but it was only for about 2 minutes, and it wasn't really about her storyline per se. It was just kind of that little conflict between Dolores and her at the time. So, and again, like I said earlier, I really like to see that conflict continue in the season going forward. So that's something to note there. But I thought there's really significant scenes with the park creation, a little bit of background knowledge here. I mean, we're in season 2 and we're still learning things about the park and how it was created and everything. So that's crazy that they're able to still do that. But honestly, in season 1, we didn't get much background of the whole park and, the investing and how Delos and all that stuff, went. So now they're kind of showing us that now. and they're doing a really good job of it, in my opinion. So yeah, really great to see Logan and William, younger William, back, right? And seeing how exactly all that worked, right? And the stuff with Logan saying, they lit the match, and just a lot of stuff like that is just really great in this one. Thought they did a really good job with the time changes, right? The flashbacks, the flash forwards with Dolores, right? So the whole episode is basically told from her memories of stuff, right? Throughout, except for, like I said, the parts with William. But pretty much outside of that, I mean, every other scene in the whole episode here is either, current times, flashbacks, kind of, flash forwards from those flashbacks, right? So everything was just kind of, out of chronological order here, and they're just all piecing these little things together and showing us that Dolores' memory is really, significant in, what she's doing right now in her fight against the humans, right? The fact that she can remember is the reason that she has the ability to do what she can do now. So really great stuff there. And like I said, I mean, this episode, I really, really enjoyed it. Probably maybe as much as last episode, but yeah, I just felt like I really couldn't give it the same rating, just because last episode was really awesome and it just set up a lot of good things. So yeah, and this episode was pretty long too. I think it was like about 59 minutes, so almost a full hour. Usually I think they're about 55. I don't know. They really vary. It's HBO, so they gotta pick, what time they want. While you got Walking Down AMC, well, they have 42 minutes, right? That's about it. So anyways, really great stuff there. Favorite character for this one, I'm gonna choose Teddy for this one, played by James Marsden, and he does a really great job. And I think this episode here, with this scene with Teddy kind of figuring out and seeing some of the pictures of his deaths, right, and finally seeing some of the hosts in that like kind of tank, right? So seeing those scenes is really something significant for Teddy, and I think going forward, I'm not sure if he'll be able to find consciousness like Dolores, maybe. Maybe that's what they're building to, but we're obviously going to see him develop even more as a character going forward. So I really can't wait to see what they exactly do with Teddy, whether he dies coming up here, and maybe that affects Dolores even more and drives her, to do even more against the humans. Although, I mean, she has that man traveling with him, so if any of them die, I'm pretty sure she can just have them bring them back online, right? So yeah, it's really, really crazy what Dolores is doing right now, and Teddy is kind of her main partner in crime right now. So we'll have to see. But yeah, James Marsden, a great job on Teddy, and he's really changed. I mean, since season 1, in that just ongoing loop of her, of him picking up the can and giving it to her there in Clearwater, and now he's like traveling with her and a fight against the humans and killing, everyone. So yeah, really, really crazy stuff there from James Marsden. Really great job there. But the whole cast does an amazing job, honestly. I think this show has some of the best acting I've ever seen on a television show, maybe the best. It's just insane, what these actors and actresses bring to the table each episode. So really great. But that'll just about do it for the review this week of Westworld. I really, really am enjoying this season. Like I said at the beginning, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season and what they decide to do with this. But I really feel like they're doing a really good job so far. So yeah. So thank you so much for watching this one, and thank you so much for the recent support on the videos. I believe we're at 40,000 channel views now, and I think 107 subscribers, 106. So I really, really appreciate that. The growth of the channel just in the last month has just been crazy. So it's been insane. So really, really like to thank you guys. Really appreciative of that, and I really appreciate the support just on this series for the reviews of Westworld. So really, really like the show, and really glad that I'm able to review this each week. So yeah, again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week for Westworld Season 2 Episode 3.